Hey, what's up, cats and kittens? And shout out to all my cerebralites. It's me, the Cerebral Diva, and I'm back with another episode of the Daily Dose. And in today's episode, I want to talk about two occurrences of police brutality that were recently captured on film. One, I believe, is out of Sacramento involving Nandi Cain Jr. or Nandi. I'm not sure exactly how his name is pronounced. And the second is out of Gwinnett County, Georgia, with a Demetrius Hollins being the victim of police brutality. And that's the one that probably most of us have seen recently, the one where he was stopped by police officers and exited the car with his hands above his head in a non-threatening manner and was basically pummeled by this officer. Not only was he pummeled, after he was handcuffed and on the ground, a second officer is seen kicking him in the head. It's hard not to get emotional and hard not to get angry when I talk about these things because it's just so bizarre to me, the level of inhumanity that these people have towards black people, black men in particular. I mean, if this and then you see a case like David Dow or David Doe, however that name is pronounced, the guy off of the United Flight, where the entire country is up in arms because he volunteered to give up his seat, got off the plane, realized that having accepted the offer, I believe of $800 to give up his seat, realized that he wouldn't be in time home be home in time for work the following day, decided to renege on that promise or that commitment to volunteer and rushed back onto the plane and said, no, I changed my mind, I want my seat back. And as a result of that, wound up in an altercation where he had to be forcibly removed from the plane. And I'm sorry, a lot of people might get angry at me, but I feel like he had a large hand in what happened. A lot of what happened was based on his decision making. This young man, Demetrius Hollins, out of Gwinnett County, Georgia, in my opinion, did nothing but put his hands above his head. Now, some people may say, well, he should have stayed in the vehicle. Correct. He probably should have stayed in the vehicle. That is standard protocol. I will give you that. I will concede on that point. However, when you get out of the car with your hands above your head in a non-threatening manner, the officer has a right to command you to get back in the vehicle. You know, he can give you those commands. Get back in your car, close the door, don't get out unless I give you permission, etc., etc. What he does not have the right to do is run over, grab you by one hand, with one hand by the shirt, and pummel you with his free hand. I mean, he was literally pummeling this poor guy like a rag doll. And then, even though physically this man can defend himself, he has to find something within inside of himself to tell him not to fight back, even though that is your visceral response when you're being assaulted. Do not fight back, because if I fight back, it's only going to make the situation worse. So he has to be emasculated in that moment, you know, and treated less than a human. And I swear to you, if we had saw a guy kicking a dog, people would have more of an emotional response than often they have when it's a black man. And then let's fast forward to Sacramento, California, where Nandi Cain was accosted simply for jaywalking, and took his coat off to reveal that he wasn't holding any sort of weaponry, that he was not a threat to this police officer, and once again, he was pummeled by police officers. So there's pretty much nothing that you can do. Now, the beauty of this, if there's any silver lining, the silver lining is that these two incidences of police brutality were caught on tape. They were caught on camera. And when I see these two occurrences, my mind immediately says, what about all the ones that aren't captured on film? Every time a black man is either killed or assaulted violently or egregiously by police officers, the police PR team immediately goes into character assassination, where they start releasing that particular person's criminal record, and basically trying to foster this sort of sympathy, or to almost make people feel compelled that the people who were hurt or harmed were deserving of that, because these are bad, quote unquote, bad people based on their criminal record. Now, in these cases where we're seeing police brutality, what about all of the other people who have potentially been assaulted by these officers? Where are their records? Because to me, police brutality is very similar in a lot of ways to rape or child molestation. And shout out to all my survivors of rape, of molestation, what have you. And the reason I'm making this analogy is because very often people who are victims of rape or child molestation, they don't report it because they don't feel like they're going to be believed. And they don't feel like, if they are believed, that the person who perpetrated is going to be punished accordingly. So they walk away and just sort of suffer in silence. And I think that the same is true of victims of police brutality. So often people experience brutality at the hands of police officers, and like, one of the things I always feel compelled to sort of preface talk or banter about police brutality by saying, we're not talking about good officers. We know that you exist, and shout out to the good officers out there. This is not to those officers who are out there doing the right thing every day. We appreciate you. We value you. And so I'm not painting across the board and saying that all police officers are bad people, because I know that that's not necessarily true. But you have to admit that there is a problem with some people, some officers who abuse their authority. And when these situations happen, say for instance, I believe that it's Officer Robert McDonald and Michael Bongiovanni, I believe, out of Gwinnett County. Why are we not privy to past accusations of brutality that were brought against these officers? Because I'm almost certain when you see an officer pummel Demetrius Hollins the way that Officer Robert McDonald did, you know that this is not his first time doing it. He felt emboldened to do so. You know that this is something he's done on the continuum, and that he's done with impunity, and that's why he didn't hesitate to do it, because he's like, look, I've done this 1,000 times before. This is what I do. I beat black men, and I don't get punished for it. So, it's just another day on the job. And now that we see this, why aren't both officers behind bars? Being fired is not enough. They should not just be fired. They should be arrested for a hate crime. You don't just, I can't just go out and just pummel someone or kick someone in the head and then just say, oh, well, you're going to lose your job and that's punishment enough. No, they should be incarcerated. They should be in jail. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. There's no possible way that you get to beat a person to the degree that this man was assaulted, officer or not, and you get to simply walk away unscathed just by being fired, because he'll get another job for sure. Now, his he should have a criminal record. Like black men have criminal records for carrying the smallest amounts of marijuana or whatever reasons. His permanent record should be affected by the fact that he's assaulted this young man. He should have a permanent infraction that he has to live with in perpetuity, that follows him everywhere across the board. It's being fired is not enough. It's not enough. They need to be arrested. They need to be charged. And as far as I'm concerned, they need to be charged with a hate crime. Because to me, what he did was hateful. There was nothing that this young man did that warranted him assaulting him to the degree that he was assaulted. I would have been okay with him shaking him. I would have been okay with him grabbing him aggressively. I understand that the The adrenaline is pumping. You're upset. I get that. But when you're basically just, oh, yeah. If you haven't seen the video, you need to see the video to understand what I'm talking about. Because it's just, it's hard for me to watch this. It really is. And so I hope that the officers involved in the Gwinnett County incident in particular are really held to the full scope of our judicial system. They should be tried, convicted, and permanently marked as felons. They should not have the right to vote the way that black men are often sort of disenfranchised and not allowed to have a vote. They should never be allowed to work in public service. And they should be charged with a hate crime. So anyhow, you guys, if you haven't seen the videos, I would highly suggest that you do. It's just, I always think, I remember when Obama was elected president. I remember being so optimistic about the direction that the world was moving in, and thinking to myself, okay, this is about to change. Things are about to get better. This is about to change for all of us. Finally, people are about to see that at the end of the day, we're all human beings. But some people are so deeply entrenched in bigotry and hatred for no apparent rhyme or reason that I know I certainly won't see the end of it during my lifetime. And with Donald Trump in office, I don't know if much of any of us, for that matter, have very long to live. But it just makes me sad to see how bad things have gotten. Is and it's sad to say I only see it getting worse. So, as always, in closing, you guys, remember to live better, love harder, and think smarter. It is me, the Cerebral Diva, signing off. Oh, remember to follow me across all social media platforms: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, etc. I am Cerebral Diva on all social media platforms. If you can spell, you can find me. And remember to like, comment, subscribe, and share if you feel so inclined. I will talk to you guys again soon. Have a great day.